You think you know Castlevania? What if I told you two PlayStation games completely rewrote the rulebook, one by looking back and the other by leaping forward? For decades, Konami's Castlevania series was a Gothic staple, celebrated for its challenging side-scrolling action, intricate level design, and a rogues gallery of classic movie monsters. But as the 90s roared to life, the gaming landscape shifted. 3D was the new frontier, and many beloved 2D franchises struggled to adapt. Yet, amid this transition, two PlayStation 1 titles emerged that would forever cement Castlevania's legacy, each in its own unique way: Castlevania Chronicles and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Let's rewind to 1993. The original Castlevania for the Famicom NES was a stone-cold classic, but by '93 it felt old. The X68000, a Japanese home computer, received a glorious, souped-up remake simply titled Akumajo Dracula. It was everything fans loved about the original, but with stunning graphics, a killer soundtrack, and refined gameplay. Think of it as a director's cut, a love letter to the game that started it all, but with all the bells and whistles of a more powerful system. Fast forward to 2001, and Konami decided to bring this hidden gem to a wider audience on the PlayStation, rebranding it Castlevania Chronicles. This wasn't a groundbreaking new adventure. It was a carefully curated experience, designed to give PlayStation owners a taste of a highly regarded, previously Japan-exclusive title. It offered two modes: Original, which was a faithful port of the X68000 version, and Arrange, which tweaked the graphics and sound to better suit the PlayStation's capabilities and offered a more forgiving difficulty. Chronicles was a fascinating anomaly. In an era obsessed with polygon counts and 3D worlds, it dared to embrace its 2D roots, offering a pure, unadulterated dose of classic Castlevania difficulty and linear progression. It was a stark contrast to what many gamers expected from a modern game, especially on a console pushing graphical boundaries. The game threw you into Dracula's castle, whip in hand, and dared you to survive. No backtracking, no experience points, just pixel-perfect jumps, unforgiving enemy placements, and boss fights that would chew you up and spit you out if you weren't on your game. It was a brutal reminder of how difficult games used to be, a love letter to the masochistic joy of mastering a challenge through sheer perseverance. Now let's talk about the game that truly changed everything, the one that most people think of when you say PlayStation Castlevania. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, released in 1997. Imagine a game that takes the core elements of Castlevania, the gothic horror, the monster slaying, the epic boss battles, and then fuses it with the exploration and progression of a Metroid game. That's Symphony of the Night in a nutshell. Before Symphony of the Night, Castlevania games were mostly linear. You went from left to right, killed monsters, fought a boss, and moved to the next stage. Symphony shattered that mold. You play as Alucard, Dracula's son, awakening from a long slumber to investigate the reappearance of his father's castle. From the moment you step foot inside, you realize this isn't your granddad's Castlevania. The castle is a sprawling, interconnected labyrinth, begging to be explored. Hidden passages, secret rooms, and countless treasures are waiting to be discovered. The game introduced RPG elements into the series in a big way. Alucard gains experience, levels up, finds new weapons and armor, and learns a multitude of spells and abilities. This sense of progression, of constantly becoming stronger and more capable, was incredibly addictive. Finding a new ability like the double jump or the ability to transform into a bat wasn't just a cool power-up. It unlocked new areas of the castle, creating a satisfying loop of exploration and reward. The art style was another revelation. Hand-drawn sprites, incredibly detailed environments, and fluid animations made the game a visual masterpiece, even on the PlayStation. The music, a masterful blend of orchestral and rock tracks, perfectly complemented the atmosphere, from haunting melodies in abandoned catacombs to epic anthems during boss battles. And then there's the famous inverted castle. Just when you think you've explored every nook and cranny of Dracula's lair, the game throws a curveball. The entire castle flips upside down, creating a whole new set of challenges and areas to explore. This moment alone solidified Symphony of the Night's place in gaming history. The problem, or perhaps the challenge, for Konami at the time was how to innovate while still honoring the series' roots. Castlevania 64 was a largely forgettable attempt to bring the series into 3D, and while it had its fans, it ultimately missed the mark. This made the success of Symphony of the Night even more remarkable. It wasn't just a good game, it was a revolutionary one. It took the principles of Metroid, nonlinear exploration, ability-gated progression, and a massive, interconnected map, and applied them to the Castlevania formula, creating what would later be known as the Metroidvania genre. It proved that 2D games could still be incredibly innovative and successful in a world obsessed with 3D. Castlevania Chronicles, on the other hand, faced a different kind of challenge. Released years after Symphony of the Night, it had to contend with the expectation of groundbreaking innovation that Symphony had set. Many gamers, having experienced the freedom and depth of Alucard's adventure, found Chronicles linear, punishing gameplay to be a step backward. But that was precisely its charm. It wasn't trying to be Symphony of the Night. It was trying to be the original Castlevania, but better. It appealed to a different kind of gamer, one who craved the brutal challenge and precision platforming of the series' early days. It's the difference between a sprawling epic and a tightly choreographed, intense action movie. Both are great, but they offer vastly different experiences. The development of Symphony of the Night was a gamble. Koji Igarashi, the assistant director at the time, recognized that the traditional linear Castlevania formula was growing stale. He drew inspiration from Super Metroid, a game lauded for its non-linear exploration and sense of discovery. This shift from a stage-based design to an open, interconnected map was a monumental undertaking for the team. They poured countless hours into designing the castle, ensuring every room flowed logically into the next, and that secrets were genuinely rewarding to uncover. The decision to incorporate RPG elements was equally bold, transforming what was primarily an action platformer into something with much more depth and replayability. Meanwhile, Castlevania Chronicles had a simpler development path for its PlayStation release, primarily focusing on porting and polishing the existing X68000 game. Its challenge was more about presentation and ensuring it felt like a worthy addition to the PlayStation library, despite its retro sensibilities. The climax of this tale isn't a single moment, but the combined impact these two games had. Castlevania Symphony of the Night wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. It wasn't simply a good game, it was a genre-defining masterpiece. It proved that 2D could still innovate, that exploration and character progression could elevate a classic formula, and that a rich, interconnected world was just as compelling, if not more so, than cutting-edge 3D graphics. It became the blueprint for countless games that followed, inspiring a wave of Metroidvania titles across various platforms. Its influence can still be seen today in indie darlings and AAA titles alike. Castlevania Chronicles, while not as revolutionary, served a vital purpose. It was a testament to the series' enduring appeal, a reminder of its roots, and a polished, accessible way for a new generation of players to experience the challenging, old-school Castlevania gameplay. It showed that there was still a place for linear, difficult action games, even in an era hungry for open worlds. Together, they represent the duality of Castlevania's brilliance on the PlayStation. One forged a new path, creating a legacy that would echo for decades. The other perfectly preserved and presented the classic experience, reminding us why we fell in love with the series in the first place.